Okay. Hey guys, it's Phantom, and welcome back to the podcast for another episode of Ask Phantom. Um, we're still talking about online school, as I said. Sorry, it's been a while. It's been a while since I filmed the last episode, and I'm sorry about that. Hold on, let me just podcasts here. Search. See what episode we're on because it's been so long I haven't really been paying all that good attention. Okay, so we're still doing online school, and this is episode 19. Um, it is February now when I'm filming this, and the last episode was a month ago. So, I think, hold on. So, I talked about James Madison in the last episode. So, in this episode, I'm going to talk about another online school. I think I'm going to talk about Acellus, honestly, because I hope I'm spelling it right. Yeah, Acellus Academy. So, I mean, I'll talk about a ton of online schools actually, because there's a bunch of different online schools out there. So, yeah. Um I'm just gonna, read about it. Oh, and if you're wondering, this goes all the way up to high school, if you're wondering. So let's just go ahead, turn on the window capture here. Oops, not the mic aux. Let's turn that on and show that. So, yeah, we're still talking about online school. Okay, there's actually a bunch. There's online schools, specific to your state. Um, there's like international online school. There's a bunch. So, who knows? I may read about this, and who knows? I may read about this and watch a couple videos. So, to learn about it, because that's what I like to do. So I like to learn things from reading lots and lots of reading. So, but yeah, like there's a ton of reasons why people do online school. It's not just, well, mainly people are like, okay, someone like me, why I feel like online school would have been great for me. I was extremely stressed. Like I dealt with I dealt with things that you probably shouldn't have to deal with at a young age, like being overly stressed all the time. I wanted to I wanted to do a lot of things at a young age that public school didn't really allow me to do. I mean, I get it. I get it. You want to be social, but there's other ways to be social without being in a school setting. Let me just say, a school setting wasn't the best for me because I was always stressed out.
Hello, my name is Dr. Roger Billings, and this is Dr. Paget Monet. We're here
But
tonight
let's just
to
watch
answer
this.
questions about the Acellus learning system. Before we get started, I'd like to make sure everybody knows what is Acellus. It's a project that we started over 20 years ago.
Really?
And the idea
Wow.
was to develop a learning system that could be delivered over a computer network to a computer for a student that would accelerate their learning and that would let everyone have the finest teachers in America and let them all go at their own pace. In those 20 years, it's been quite an adventure, and little by little, we developed technologies.
Yeah, so, like, sometimes traditional school is just, like, way too fast. Like, I know that there were times that I was falling behind, if I can remember. Oh my gosh, guys, like, I just didn't have the best time in high school. Like, socially, I didn't really care about being social. Like, I mean, I had friends, but I wasn't that social. I didn't really care to be social at all. I just, like, remember being stressed and overworked all the time. Like, it doesn't matter if you were given extra time. Like, I still felt stressed and overwhelmed and overworked. Like, I would be sitting doing my homework, struggling and not understanding it no matter how many times I asked. Like, some people just don't, it just doesn't click for them in public school. Maybe because, like, or public or private school where things are way too fast and they just don't understand it. And, like, I was happy that I was going at my own pace when I did distance learning, because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't have graduated, and it was the toughest time. Like, I mean, I get it, things are tough now, but if you have things like stress, it makes things a lot more difficult. And I'm not talking about, like, regular amounts of stress, I'm talking about it to the point where you can't get your stuff done, you can't focus right, like, you can't think straight, everything just, like, jumbles in your head and jumbles in your brain, and you just don't understand things no matter how many times you ask for help. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've asked for, like, clarification. So yeah, like, doing things at your own pace and, like, auditory and visual learner, like, I'm both. I'm both an auditory and visual learner, so I just learn a lot differently than you would in traditional school. I mean, I'll talk about it in a separate, like, episode or video of if it's good to send your kid to public school if you have things like mental health issues. I'm probably going to talk about stress a lot in that video because that's what I had to deal with. Like, it was insane. I don't think I was supposed to be having intense headaches at the age that I was when I got headaches, but they were really bad. Like, it was so bad. So, yeah, I'll probably talk about that in either a video or a podcast, maybe a video. I don't know.
To help students in the areas where they normally get stuck.
But yeah,
And now
that makes a lot of sense.
it's become so successful. It's been so effective in helping students that it's in use by over 6,000 schools.
Yeah, and it's like not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone learns the same way. Where it's like, you know, you listen to a teacher and then they tell you to like copy this down or whatever, and it's like I remember I would like there were subjects I struggled in. Like I wasn't very strong in poetry. I'm very strong in creative writing, but I'm not strong in poetry whatsoever. And so, as I said, I'm a mix of an auditory individual learner. There are some times where I have to like hear things, and there are times when I have to see things to learn them. Um, and I like doing research and lots of it. So, yeah, like you don't really know. Like not everyone is gonna learn at the same pace you are, and sometimes teachers can be so fast that a student can't keep up. I remember like I had subjects where I was falling behind, and it just didn't feel like like there were a lot of things that would um I guess set me off, like set my episodes off. Like midterms would stress me out so much when I was in high school. Midterms, finals, oh my gosh. Like there were times where I was so stressed I couldn't focus and stuff. So yeah, I feel like schools that let you go at your own pace and can let you set your own lessons, how like customize your lessons how you want to customize them is a good thing. But just because someone watches a 10 to 15-minute video doesn't mean that's all I have to do. Like, you have to take notes, and like you have to take a lot of notes and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm eating my breakfast. So, yeah, I remember I had to do a bunch of writing in high school, not just writing essays or doing assignment, but we also had to do a lot of note taking in high school, especially English class. So, like, we had to do note taking, and I think we had to do it in Spanish. If you're wondering, you have to take foreign language in high school. I took Spanish, but I'm not all that great at Spanish, so it didn't really work out. Plus, I really struggled. So I took Spanish for like 2 years. I took science. I didn't take like a science class my senior year though because it was a choice. If you're wondering, the school I went to, the first 3 years, science was like taking a science class was mandatory, except for senior year. You could take physics if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. I mean, I liked science, but I struggled in chemistry, so I didn't take physics in my senior year. But yeah, like some people learn better with auditory and visual because they can just like pause a video and write notes. And then when they're done, they can move on to the next. I mean, as I said, I'll talk about the rest in either a video or a podcast episode, probably a video. But in my case, since I'm a mix of auditory and visual, I feel like it would have been good for me to have like video lessons or something where I can hear the lecture and then take notes if I needed. But everybody learns differently.
Schools, coast to coast. We're pretty proud of it. And more recently, we've actually made it available to parents at home. So I'd like to jump right in. I'm going to give you some very frank answers. This isn't a sales presentation. This is just here's how it is. And if you have other questions, we hope you'll send them in. And next time, maybe we can get to your questions. So, Dr. Monet,
Yeah.
let's hear that first question.
That first one is, what options do we have on how to get Acellus?
Okay, there are 3 ways you can get Acellus in your home. The first way is to get it from your public school. Like I said, there are 6,000 schools that are now offering Acellus. And if your school happens to be one of them, it's a way you can get it and it won't cost you anything. Best way to find out if your public school has it is to ask them. If they do, they can set your student up and their teachers will help you. And I will say that's how 90% of the students that have Acellus are using it, is through their public school. The second way is through a school that we have created called Acellus Academy. Acellus Academy is a K through 12 school that is fully accredited, has teachers.
Yeah, so there's like 2 different ways to get the Acellus program. Like a lot of people would probably want to do it through Acellus Academy, honestly. maybe because they don't like being in a public school setting. I don't know. Like it's complicated.
It has all the programs of a school, but it's a private school. And since it's private, it isn't paid for by government. And that means that we charge the parents for the school. Acellus Academy has a website, acellusacademy.com, which you can look at and find out the details about the school. But that would be a good way to get it. When you graduate from Acellus Academy, you get a fully accredited high school diploma. And the only thing is, when you're paying for a school like that, it's a little bit more expensive. Of course, it's a lot more expensive than getting it from your local school district at no cost. The third option is something we call Power Homeschool. Power Homeschool is another project of Acellus, but this time, this is a service where we offer these same wonderful lessons over the network to students, but the teachers, the ones that direct the educational experience, are the parents. Advantage of Power Homeschool is that it's the parents that are running the program, and they have a lot more freedom to run it the way they want. And second of all, because we're not paying for teachers, it's more affordable. So you can consider those three options. Now, just to put this in a little better context, if you get through your public school, it's paid for by the public school. If you get Acellus Academy, then you're going to need to pay for it yourself. How much does it cost? Well, it's $249 a month. And I'd like to put that in context. Most public schools get between $10,000 and $15,000 a year from their state per student. Trying to do it for $249 a month is a real challenge. And we work very hard to be able to provide an accredited program for that price. On the other hand, people don't have tons and tons of money to spend on education. And some of our families have multiple students, so it adds up really fast. And for that reason, I've created a program. I call it the
Right, and maybe not every student can be taught at home. Like you may think, oh, why does so and so get to be homeschooled while I have to physically go to school? Like I get it. School isn't the funnest place to be, but if you're someone who, okay, as I said, people homeschool for several different reasons. Mainly some people are very athletic, like they get involved in athletics, or they're probably theater kids, or music kids, or some parents just like the idea of homeschooling because they have more time to do things that they want to do. Plus, they can go at their own pace, which is why I'm pro homeschool. I just had a different experience in brick and mortar, and brick and mortar isn't for everybody. So my mental health was not great. When I was in school, my mental health was pretty bad. So Yeah. Like when you have constant headaches and can't get your work done, it feels impossible. Like there are some times when I have good days, other times when I have like really bad days. Example, this morning I had a headache this morning. So like you never just because you have just because you may say that you are stressed or you know, like I'm stressed and I do this every day and it's like it's different for everybody else. Like it's different for a lot of people. So one's stressor may not be their stressor and one type of stress condition may not be as bad. But in my case, I've been dealing with stress for 10 years. So, yeah, I just feel like online school is good for my future. I mean, even though I'm not in school, when I'm, done with school, I mean, like, when I'm older and decide what to do for, like, future education, online school would be perfect for me and perfect for my future family, depending on the situation.
Roger Billing Scholarship. And the way that it works is you pay $79 a month for the same program, and I handle the rest of the cost. But I have one request that I ask back of you in return, and that is I ask you to have your student join me in my Science Live broadcast, which I do every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. from here in Kansas City. For people that isn't a good time, they can sign into it after the fact, anytime for the next week. But it is something that I ask each of the students to do. And you may say, well, why? And the biggest challenge in distance learning, studying at home, is motivating students to actually apply themselves and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty good about helping students with the cost of enrolling in Acellus Academy if they're actually going to do it, if they're going to apply themselves.
Right? Like, if you're begging your parents or begging whoever to, enroll you in online school, don't don't slack off. Like online school is just as important as brick and mortar school. Like you can't just, slack off. So yeah, like you have to put in the work. Like I mean, I got used to it. Got used to it fast. So as I said, it's not for everybody. But if you're super busy, then maybe online school is for you. And what I mean by super busy is like constantly doing things, like, sports
themselves, and I feel like I'm going to get some value back out of it by seeing them succeed in their careers. I devote my hour to helping them understand the value of their education, teaching them that this time they spend studying is like investing in themselves. And so it actually unloads some of the burden we have in motivating the students. And that's why I think, well, I want to provide the scholarship only to those families and those students that are pretty serious about it. So if you have the financial wherewithal, would love to have you attend Science Live, but it is very helpful for the families that are paying the full $249 because we're on a pretty tight budget. For those that would like to take advantage of the scholarship, then please join us. Now, I will say that Science Live has generated a lot of very positive feedback from families. I am thrilled that a lot of the parents and even the grandparents will watch this little hour program with us. And I think it helps them see how this learning system works, and hopefully we're getting everybody interested in education. If you want to know what Science Live is all about, you can go to rogerbillings.com, click on Science Live, and you can go back and look at what we've done weeks and weeks ago, and you can see whether or not you think it'd be something that'd be good for your student. Okay, Power Homeschool, we invite you to attend Science Live too. It's not a requirement of the program, but a lot of students are joining us, and we hope that it's contributing something so they apply themselves in the studies. Now, getting back to Power Homeschool, remember this is the program where the parent is really running the show. You go in and decide which class your student should be in. You change the class if you decide it's the wrong one. Parent does everything. Fortunately, though, the really wonderful teachers that are filmed in the lessons are there to help you. So kids can still get a very good education from Power Homeschool. It costs $25 a month. So it's a good program for people that are on a tight budget. Okay.
Ready for the next one?
I am ready.
So some parents want to know what they need to do at their home to make Acellus work.
Oh, excellent question. In distance learning, studying at home, the role of the parent is much bigger than it is in regular schooling. If you have a conventional before the virus school and you go to school and the kids come home, the parents still have a big role to motivate the students to do homework. But when you're studying at home, it's a much bigger deal. The parents need to get involved. And problem number one is getting the students to do it. I strongly recommend that you allocate a time every day that they're going to spend on their studies. Makes a big difference. And they need to spend that time well. About 3 to 3.5 hours of study on Acellus, because of the accelerator features built into it, is enough for most students to keep pace with what they would do in a regular full day at school. Interestingly, when the students start doing it, they very quickly get in the groove on Acellus. They find out that they can, and then they just love to do it. And students very often will zip through the material much faster than you would at a public school. And the interesting thing is, at the end of the year when they go through standardized testing, they score very well. So it's good to accelerate the learning. And you say, well, if they get through with the class early, what are we going to do? Well, with Acellus, you just keep giving them more and more and more classes. One of the really important things that kids need to pick up in learning is reading. I'm talking about students coming in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They need to be able to read, and they need to be able to read well. Acellus is an excellent way to learn reading. I recommend that you get your students started as early as 3 years old. We do have an early preschool reading program. We have so many online students that are reading at a third grade level at 5 and 6 years old. And that is a good thing. That gets them ahead of the game on everything. So The quicker you can get them started in it, the better. Students do not really know what to expect when they come into this environment. They're not in the classroom. The teacher's not right there smiling at them. They have to turn on their computer. They have to sign in. And quite often, at first, they're very intimidated. And this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say today. You need to give your students a good experience early on.
Mm-hmm.
They need to learn and discover and understand they can succeed at this. And quite often, the best way to do that is start them out with some material that they can handle. We have these things saying, okay, you're 7 years old, you're supposed to do this. You're in the 5th grade, you're supposed to do fractions. And we do have curriculum standards, and they need to be respected and honored. But when they start out doing distance learning, you want them in a course where they can succeed. I'll even say a course that's easy for them. Why? Because they're learning how this whole system works. And if they get discouraged, then they're going to want to give up and they're not going to do well. So get them in a course that works. The system starts out putting them in the course where they should be with grade level. If you're in Acellus Academy, then our teachers are going to monitor their progress. If the kids don't know what to do, if they don't understand the lesson, please encourage them to just try and try, because every time they touch that computer, Acellus is analyzing how they're doing and how to improve the learning experience, and we start making changes. If we find out we've got them in a course that's too advanced, we will put it into what we call the slow mode. The slow mode makes it a little bit easier for them to succeed. If they don't excel in the slow mode, then we move them over into a preceding course, a preparatory course. And very often we find we have to go back 2 courses before a student starts to really have success.
Mm-hmm.
But once they have success and they start going through things that they're kind of familiar with and they feel like they can do it, Acellus moves very quickly.
Right.
Doesn't spend a whole year on that earlier course. It just quickly gives them the parts they need. And by the time the school year's over, they will have caught all the way back up and got back on grade level. We're seeing that time and time and time again in our public schools. If they are stuck, well, then you've got them in a course they're not ready for. A lot of kids that will come into chemistry, for example, are just not ready for chemistry. You can't succeed in chemistry if you don't understand the math. And so
there's a lot of math and chemistry, like a lot. I didn't even understand chemistry. But yeah, he has a good point. He has a really good point.
System should go back and let them get the foundation, and then they'll love chemistry. And that's what we try to do. With the teachers in the Acellus Academy, we do it for you. If you're going to do power homeschool, this is where you need to get involved. If your student says, I hate it, I can't do it, and they're not making progress, and by the way, we send you a parent report every month so that you can see how they're doing. We also give you a feature called Live Class Monitor where you can actually, on your cell.
I'm thinking a parent report is like a progress report or a report card. I don't know, but it's something like that.
Cell phone or your computer, anywhere, you can sit and watch how they're doing minute by minute. And when they're not making progress, it's going to turn red and tell you, hey, they need some help. If they're struggling on one of their courses, then you need to consider putting them back in the course before that. And if that doesn't work, even the course before that, until finally they start going forward. Once they start going forward, the system will just move them quickly. When they finish that earlier course, it'll automatically move them up in the next one, the next one, the next one. Pretty soon, they'll be ready to graduate. Acellus is faster than other learning methods. That's why we call it the Learning Accelerator. And every student needs to be succeeding. We call it, they need to be in their success zone where they feel good about themselves. If you will do that, you will be surprised just how well they do.
So there's so let's read some of these. As I said, I like reading some of these things. But yeah, a lot of people do online school for several different reasons. Let's just see how long. Oh, 41 minutes, that's fine. It's fine. So this one parent's daughter was spending, oh my gosh, 3 to 4 hours a night on homework. That is insane. No one should be spending that long on homework. So, you know, the middle school she went to was a completely opposite story. I saw her going from loving learning to being a complete, anxious, and fairly depressed person. She had difficulty keeping up with the pace, and we spent 3 to 4 hours a night doing homework, then catching up on classwork and projects, and then doing any studying for tests. Both of us got very little sleep, and I was not getting any time with the rest of the family. By the middle of 8th grade, I knew neither of us could sustain that through high school, and we needed to change something. So, yeah, like, there's a lot of reasons why people decide to, you know, choose schools like, choose online schools. Like, I know I wouldn't want to spend like 3 to 4 hours on homework because I would get frustrated and just give up at that point. I evaluated everything from specialized private school to K-12 online. If you guys don't know what K-12 is, it's another homeschool. Well, it's an online public school. It's not homeschool. It's online public school. To homeschooling curriculum. As we could not afford the private school, we focused on online and other homeschooling options. The K-12 was based on state-mandated curriculum. K-12 was based on state-mandated curriculum, and even though it said self-paced, it really wasn't. You still had to be done within certain dates. Now, that is something that will really stress me out. I know that I was the type of person in high school that would have things in late most of the time because I would get so stressed out and overwhelmed. So like, just do your research on online schools before you, on certain online schools before you make up your mind. I honestly don't recall how we found Acellus. At one point, I was homeschooling every day, and Acellus homeschool popped up. I decided to use it as a supplement to her 8th grade math that I wasn't able to help with. Within a few videos, she understood the material. She wanted to keep going. She wanted to know if there were any other classes. She wanted to quit 8th grade in public school and switch right then. About the same time, homeschool became power homeschool, and we decided on a Acellus Academy option using the mentor program to help with the tuition. Now that is a success story right there. Like, that is an amazing success story. I love the quality of the content, the accreditation, and that I do not have to track and issue transcripts. She will still receive an actual diploma. She loves the online format, and that she controls her pace. We are both less stressed. I don't think all public school is bad. I do think that there are kids who thrive within that setup. But for those who flounder, Acellus is an excellent alternative. So, like, yeah, public school isn't bad, but there are some people that don't thrive in public school. Like, I don't feel like I thrived in public school, even though I graduated. Or, even though I graduated, I still don't feel like I thrived in public school. So, yeah. With that said, I think, check the time, it's 47. It's been 47 minutes, I think. Just reading one story was good for me to do right now. But yeah, definitely definitely do your research on this before you decide to switch to, before you decide to switch to a school like this, thoroughly do your research first. So, yeah. With that said, I'm gonna go. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode, and if you did, be sure to listen to the podcast, available on pretty much all platforms. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go check it out. Go check it out on YouTube. Also, if you want to watch this, go check it out on YouTube as well. So yeah, I'll talk about other schools in the next couple of episodes, but I just wanted to focus on Acellus for this one episode. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like, comment, please subscribe if you're on YouTube, and then also subscribe to the podcast if you're listening. And with that said, goodbye guys. I'm going to go now.